Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 685, recorded live on Sunday, September 4th. I'm your host, Patrick. With me on the show this week, we have Vooduspyce.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, man, welcome back.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Should be a lot. It's always fun to have Vooduspyce on the show. This week's screenshot: Delusionist of Argonescent is wary as night falls in Stormreach. In the 565th screenshot of the week, a very artistic view of the horse from Hardcore this season. If you want to kind of get a up close and personal view of what that looks like, there you go. Basically, the a horse model with the like the bone structure head of the Feyhounds stuff, like the Feywild dogs kind of a thing, kind of that idea. I think it looks cool. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOCast.com. DDOCast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show, let's see, what's next weekend? I think we'll have a show next week. It'll probably be, we'll see how this show goes. It might be part 2 of this show. We might do something else. We'll just kind of have to see. So, just, play it by ear, shall we? But we should have a show next week. We will not have a show the week after that. I can commit to not having a show then. But that's kind of the plan there. Let's see. You can stay updated by following us on our social media pages, or you can go to DDOCast.com, subscribe to our calendar, which is somewhat helpful. I use it. It's great for me. And it's really easy to push the button that says, hey, anyone can look at this if you want. So, but that way you can check out when we're doing DDO Splat and when we're doing Tomb of Annihilation, and I keep the sales and stuff there as well. So all sorts of fun things there. So on the podcast this week, Voodoo and I are going to review Update 55. That's the Isle of Dread expansion, which, oh geez, when did it come out? 3 months ago? 2 months ago?
2 months. It'll live just a hair over 2 months ago.
Yeah, okay. Good. I don't feel as late with that. But so we'll be reviewing that. And then we will also be taking a look at the release of Update 56 this week, which dropped. And there's some important stuff to discuss with that this week. Yeah, so let's dive in. We'll get into the game news. So this is we'll start with Update 56. That released on Wednesday. It was a release. It happened. It was a little rough around the edges. So what came with Update 56? So the big thing is Temple of Elemental Evil has been broken up, right? So we talked about this the last couple weeks. Where's the list of things? So Temple of Elemental Evil Part 1, the old Part 1, is now 2 separate quests. The first contains the Upper Temple and the Earth Temple. The second contains the Lower Temple. Part 2 has been turned into 5 quests. So each node is its own quest, and then the fight against Zuggtmoy plus the little entry area is now the 5th quest. So I have heard that they're not too long. The experience from what I've heard is better. Neither of us have played it yet. Although we are planning on doing it for DDO Splat this coming Tuesday. If you want to watch us kind of stumble through that. Although I'm not expecting it to be like a huge changes. I'm pretty sure I saw someone die to the crossbow in Hardcore. But other than that, I don't really have a lot to report on that. The notes do say that they have several quests have had objectives added to make their gameplay flow more clearly. I believe that is mostly the nodes. Zuggtmoy and Falrinth encounters have had their difficulty adjusted. down, is my understanding. And the rewards have been adjusted. We talked about this last week. So there's new loot. The crafting system is gone. There's new augments, and you can still get the old loot, but you just can't craft anything. Which, by my account, seems fine. I don't. Did you ever craft anything from this pack?
Not a single thing.
Yeah, I didn't either. The mushrooms I recall as being just like onerous to get because you had to just go through so many steps. Like it just didn't ever seem worth it to me. Like
I found that the mushrooms were really good to give to people who are looking for them.
Yeah,
That's what I used them for.
sure. Yeah. So anyway, so that's Temple of Elemental Evil. The other big thing is archetypes. So we have the 3 archetypes. Oh, I will say Temple of Elemental Evil free to VIPs and available in the store. I did not see anything about the price increasing.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
So I'm assuming it didn't.
No, I don't think that it did.
It's essentially the same time, right, of content. They're not they're just breaking it up. So cool.
I mean, we're getting new loot too, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. While I haven't done it yet, I am hoping that a Temple of Elemental Evil comes back onto my radar because that quest's been dead to me since it came out. I literally have 2 or 3 completions in my DDO life. I never bothered with the crafting system, and there was never any named items I want because I play casters and tanks and healers. So literally, it's too long to run for XP. So it's just been dead for me, for my DDO life. It's been dead from the start. So I'm hoping now that it's broken up, that it comes back into, the quest that I do for Reaper at Endgame.
I think it will. The early reports I've heard from some people that have run through it once or twice seem to indicate that it was more in line with kind of modern day quest time, like how long it takes to complete them. Like 10 to 15 minutes for most of them. So that's great. I am super hopeful that they updated a bunch of the items, right? I'm hopeful that there was the crown with the gem. It looks like 4 ion stones around your head, I think. It previously you had to go and like do every node and then fight Zuggtmoy. So it was just a really long. It made the quest like an hour. So I'm hoping you just have to fight Zuggtmoy and you can get that. I will say it does have part 2. I'm assuming it's still there and in the Zuggtmoy chest or it's available somewhere. Did have like my favorite cosmetic for my monk, which is the mushroom hat. The really wide mushroom hat just fits really well for a monk. So I've always liked that hat. So hopefully that stuff is a little easier to get now as well. Archetypes are here, so free archetypes, free for everybody, which I'm a little surprised by. But hey, cool, free stuff. I would not be shocked if archetypes become more of a the future ones will be paid or parts of expansions or this, that, or the other thing. Boy, howdy, like we're not to update 55 yet, but doesn't it feel a little bit like one of these should have been in the expansion bundles? We used to have like the Universal Tree was in one. Feels like an archetype would have been an ad there that maybe would have expected to see, but
yeah, you never know. Maybe that is something that was going to be originally part of their plans, and maybe it just got pushed off. That's quite possible. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that seems like it's a possibility.
Maybe even they were planning on doing like all 3 as part of the expansion, and then it's like, well, it's not ready yet, so have some autos boxes instead.
Yeah, because Dark Apostate would have been a nice meld for sure.
Yeah.
because you get all the undead running around the village of Chanaroa and stuff.
Uh, 3 archetypes. We've talked about them briefly. Again, we're not going to go into the details about them. We're going to do a show later. We'll get kind of more in depth into the archetypes. But you get Dark Apostate, which is cleric. Negative energy, dark magic using undead sharded necromancer. Sacred Fist is paladin. So hand wraps using paladin, and then Stormsinger Bard, which is uses sonic, cold, and electric storm based spellcasting. The the basic version is when you select the class, you get to choose if you're doing an archetype or the base class. You can't mix and match different versions of the class, right? So you can't be Bard and Stormsinger. You just are one or the other, but you can multi-class outside of that. That's kind of the fast version of how that works. Voodoo, do you have any like high level, quick reaction thoughts to the archetypes you want to share? No, neither of us has played any of them, but
Yeah, and it's just I probably won't play the cleric or paladin because it's just not the flavor of thing that I like. I'll probably get the Stormsinger in any event. I mean, this week I remember a conversation happened, and basically, like I was saying, they're kind of out of classes.
yeah.
We don't really we kind of covered all them bases, so they're trying to give us more variety and hey, more past lives. So no complaints from me.
Hey, more past lives without breaking completionist.
Yeah.
Like even better, right?
And completionist is auto granted, so I mean it's just
Yeah.
like a bonus all around.
Yeah, I like the concept. I'm really curious to see where these land, right? Like how's it gonna work? How's it gonna what are the players gonna do with it, right? Like that's kind of the thing I'm most interested in. Uh the Stormsinger Bard sounds interesting to me. If the timing was better, I would have done that for one of my hardcore my leveling tune. Basically a caster bard. And that would have worked great. The problem is right now I'm banking XP, so I can't not ready to like make that switch. I'll probably once I get to 20 like lesser reincarnate into one. I have a sense that the bard will be popular in like the heroic leveling space. Bard is kind of a caster bard has been a pretty popular. Well, okay. I'm not sure if I should say it's like a really popular one, but there's uh I know several people kind of in my group that was their heroic leveling build for racials, right? You get a little speed, does some good damage, and this is upping the DPS, the casting DPS, in exchange for some of the buffing. Which in heroic, do you really need the buffing? Question mark. Like, not that hard to get through heroics, so I think that'll play nice in that space. I'm curious to see how it plays at cap. I'm not super optimistic about that, but I think it'll have some space. The paladin looks fun. That's the one that I think I'm most excited to play. And will be doing so in the not too distant future. My current TR project is my monk, so before he goes back to monk, he'll be doing those lines. I I would really love to see the Sacred Fist kind of land in this. Here's a new tank option space of a cloth tank kind of build, because you'd be able to have defender stance. So you could do something like take 6 levels of Sacred Fist and 12 levels of monk and be an earth stance and defender stance. That could be interesting. I'm not sure that the MRR would be high enough to really be a tank and end game rating in general, but I really kind of want to see if that has a space there. The cleric one, I don't really know what people are going to do with and where it's going to land. I'm concerned about the fact it doesn't have a death aura. That seems like a missed opportunity to add the death aura to its spell list. So, let's see. Let's see. The bank and reincarnation cache have had their user interfaces updated. We'll go into the problems with this in a bit. It's been a little rough. But it's here. It's on live. You can now create tabs in your banks, the shared bank and your character bank. I think also the reincarnation cache. I don't remember. You can search your reincarnation cache now. Filter it by level, by name, and all that stuff. So that's nice. Aside from the problems, what are your early reactions to that, Voodoo?
Well, to me, the most exciting thing was the ability to search and sort the reincarnation cache, which is huge. I'm the kind of player that'll sit there and scroll up and down 5 times through all my 300 things in my reincarnation cache and not find the thing I'm looking for. And now I can just type in the word. And I mean, it's such a simple thing, but it just makes that thing so much more bearable.
Yeah.
And I never thought the devs would do it. I thought I'd gotten the impression, years back that the devs really hated the reincarnation cache because people were using it as long-term storage, but here we are. So I love that. And, I really like the functionality. Yeah, there were some bumps and there's still some things that need to be worked out. And I think a lot of people are going to be happy that more storage space is coming. They basically said they want to release it, work out the kinks first. Once all the kinks have been worked out, we're going to get more storage space.
Yay. Yeah.
So bumps aside, all good things.
I think I'm going to find that less the search option on the reincarnation cache and more the search by level range is going to be really nice. I have a tendency to like go through my cache and like, okay, well, I'm doing 1 to 30, so let's pull out all of the stuff that's to level 10 and dump that into my bank. And then as I'm leveling, I'll pull that stuff out, right? And then I'll go like, okay, now like take up to the level 20, right? And then like when I get to epic, I'll take that stuff out, right? So I tend to take it out in bunches. But being able to search by level, I think, is going to be amazing. I did just take a bunch of stuff out of my TR Project Kit 29. So of course there's a big gear overhaul at that level for me, and I still lost something. Like, wait, where is it? Oh, I already pulled it out. So, but it was definitely nice to be able to like, oh, I can't find it. Let me search my TR cache. Wait, it's not there. Where is it? Oh no! Oh, it's in my inventory already. Cool. But it was still a much more happy process. And there's some PSAs and stuff we'll get to in a minute. Some general other things that changed. The familiars from Fate Arc Lucius and Falcons from Falconry now remain active while you are dead. Thank you. That was always found that really annoying. Familiars no longer fall through the world or spawn twice and explode or block mouse selection. That's all fantastic stuff. Let's see. Fruit of the Wild's Destiny Mantle now persists correctly through lockout. Right. Shadow debuff from Shadow Dancer properly drops 1 stack at a time. Unyielding's Lay on Hands no longer prevents you from using it based on your charisma score if your constitution score is higher. That's probably good. Let's see. Iced Edge from War Chanter no longer drops on logout. Nerve Venom and Shroudi no longer has erroneous DC. Sunblade should now respect two-handed fighting rules more accurately. Okay. Unyielding Sentinel's Resurrection no longer erroneously requires 20 levels. It is now level 30 as intended. I didn't realize that you could get that earlier. Tabaxi's dexterity to damage now works correctly in animal form. Weapons without an ability score modifier to damage no longer show a negative base damage rating. How much do people actually look at that damage rating? I mean, I'm guessing you're the wrong person to ask, because when's the last time you actually swung a weapon at a monster intentionally?
I actually played a couple of melees recently on my
Oh, yeah?
live stream, but I'm definitely no one to talk
Yeah.
about melee play.
Perfected Darkstorm Helm now has a caster level. I guess that's to the clicky that's on it. The camera has been adjusted such that mouse look will no longer occasionally turn your character 180 degrees and make you look up or down. Boy, I hope this is actually one of those things that sticks and is not like we'll see this 15 times in the coming years. Because this is. Have you had this problem where you like go in or out of, where you go out of free look and then into mouse look, and your character just like takes a hard turn?
I mean, I think I know what it's talking about. Honestly, I don't use mouse look very often, so this is one that doesn't really affect me.
I am someone who I am constantly switching between the two. Uh, I probably would drive most players nuts because I don't know how I do it really, but like I will be running in mouse look, switch to mouse free look. I don't know what what do you call it when your mouse is free and you're turning. I don't know. And then I'll switch back. Like I will, like, while I'm running and turning, like in a curve or arc. So like around in Von 6, like I would usually be running around the curved walkways and like go out of mouse look, like click on something to cast a spell and go back in, and just like one fluid motion. Except I stopped doing that because the time where I damn near ran off the edge because it turned so hard. So to not have to deal with that would be amazing. Party and guild chat disconnection no longer take as long to reconnect. It's been a long-standing issue. A bunch of text bugs were fixed. Monsters will no longer randomly gain stone prison on hit effects due to your own gear. What? How does that happen? I just kind of want to know how that happens. Sonic Blast is now properly a single target. However, it will continue to break breakables in an AoE. This is sad. That was really nice. But apparently not intended to be an AoE spell, which makes sense. I mean, it's level 1 spell. An AoE level 1 spell, that's kind of crazy. Great, but Great Weapon Aptitude now allows natural fighting as one of its prerequisites instead of just two-handed fighting. This will be great for bears, because bears now get strike through as part of bear form. Great Weapon Aptitude abilities increase your strike through chance, so allowing natural fighting instead of two-handed fighting. Very good change for that. Kyber Dragon Shards no longer drop. Recipes that use Kyber Dragon Shards now use Siberius Dragon Shards instead. So this was mostly Trap the Soul was what it was used for, but that changed back when they redid Trap the Soul, right?
And the Eldritch Stone of Change to bind and attune.
Right. But which you can now do with Siberius Dragon Shards. So question is, what do I do with all my Kyber Dragon Shards? If they'll just deprecate it, or if they'll come up with something new, or I don't know.
I know that's a lot of people ask me on my show what to do with them, and I'm always saying, like, I hate to tell you to throw them out. There's no
Right.
use now, but you know, you never know if they could reuse them again in the future.
Yeah.
But they are pretty common.
Yeah, that too, right? Well, they're not dropping now, so see what happens with those. Eldritch Knight dice now work on shields. Interesting. See how that plays. All level versions of Abishai set is now a profane instead of artifact bonus, so that will allow it to stack with a lot of the other sets. There are now 3 new gameplay options. I have not played with any of these. I forgot this was in here. But the first one is gather trap parts. You can Turn off gathering trap parts when you disable traps. Thank you. I have plenty. Experimental tumble controls. So you can tumble instead of blocking. This one's weird to me. Like, is this you're able to turn off the fact that while you're blocking you tumble? Like, do you just not move while you're blocking? If that's true,
Yeah, honestly, I don't understand this one either. Really,
to play with that a little bit. And then disable full character effects overlays. You can disable effect visuals like stone skin, bark skin, fire shield versions, elemental forms, that kind of thing.
I think that one's cool.
Yeah. We have 2 new spells: Mass True Seeing, Cleric and Favored Soul 8, and Mass Freedom of Movement, Cleric, Favored Soul, and Druid 7. Yay!
Those are both amazing.
Yeah. Anything that cuts down on my buff time, I'm pro, right? Like, and plus, like, level 8, like 8 doesn't sound doesn't. I'm not thinking of a lot of 8th level spells that I'm not able to take. So having another spell there, I think that's a good choice. 7
I
might
wish
be
they
a
had
little more
added
crowded.
that to Druid though, because Druids get True Seeing
Why
as a
didn't they?
spell.
That's
I don't know.
weird. Hey, SSG, add that to Druids. Why? Why did Druids not get Master Seeing? Reaper crafting has been reduced to 75 Reaper fragments. You can dissolve the items at the second Reaper NPC at any amount of Reaper points, so you don't need 50 points to be able to dissolve them anymore. Fantastic
Great change.
Yeah. It was one of my biggest beasts with the system in general.
Big time.
You still have to have 50 points to craft with it, though, which I'm not entirely sure I'm happy with. I kind of wish they also took that away. Yeah, I wish they would take that away, because here's the thing. Like, I don't have an issue with, like, having to get 50 points to use that vendor. The problem is it when you start talking about, like, having multiple characters, and if you want to put a Reaper stat on that character, you have to get that one up to 50 points. It penalizes multi-class or multiple characters, right? The more characters you have, the more you're going to feel this penalty. And this
Well, I
gating.
think that if you add it on one character that has access to it, you could just move it back.
If it's not a bound to character item.
I mean, what's bound to character? You're right. I
Raid,
mean, yeah,
raid
you're
items.
right. If it's raid loot, yeah. I have mixed feelings about the fact that it's 50, because while that may not seem like much to me, I know to some players 50 Reaper points might as well be 5,000 Reaper points, because they, you know, it's going to take them a long time to get there.
Especially if you're playing 10 characters at the same time, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I only have 2 characters that are that high, and I play a lot, so I just don't. Why do we need that gating? I think that gating needs to go away, with the caveat that if they've talked about having Reaper points be account wide and what that could look like. If it was account wide, I think this would be a lot less of an issue, right? Which they may be thinking about in the longer term. I don't know. On the flip side, Reaper crafting no longer accepts level 1 or 2 items, so you need to find higher level items than that. The big thing there is it carves out keep on the Borderlands items, which was a very popular way to farm Reaper fragments. War Chanter's Ice Edge now scale with spell power. Cool. Let's see. The House J favor buffs now have a Give Me the Works option that charges the total as opposed to clicking them all individually. And then both the House J and House P favor buffs now last for 60 minutes, which on hardcore is great. Fred can now combine Dragon Shards for you. Fun. I wonder if he's any faster than the Stone of Change.
He is,
He
because you
is?
can do quantities. So
Uh,
you
it's the new
got the
system.
barter box system, and you can enter the
Oh.
quantity and just hit crunch, and it's great.
Oh, hallelujah. Praise the Lord.
You still got to wait for it to count down, so it's not like one crunch does them all, but it's still way, way better than the Stone of Change crunching.
I mean, it's sort of changed. You had to like click it every single time, and then when it ran out, you had to reopen the window.
It was awful.
Yeah. That's great. Spells that may target undead friends, like inflict spells, can now validate the caster as a redirected target. Uh, as long as the caster's undead. I think that's just fancy for saying you can target yourself with inflict spells if you're undead.
That was my takeaway, but yeah, this did Emmanuel Kant write that bullet point or something? I don't know.
That note definitely did not go through player translation. The spells Bless, Prayer, and Bane now all have a cooldown of 10 seconds. A little bit longer. I assume that's because the Dark Apostate can damage with them now. Base attack bonus is now capped at 25. Okay. Tiefling's Incinerations are now plus 2% and plus 3% fire spell critical damage, which is a reduction. I don't know what it was off the top of my head before. Like 5%? I don't remember.
I thought it was 2 and 2, or yeah, I don't know.
Thought that went
Actually,
thought that went down. Holy Smite, Order's Wrath, Chaos Hammer, and Unholy Blight now deal 1d6 plus 4 damage per cash level. I believe that was 1d6 plus 6. That went down. Completionist is now automatically granted upon reaching level 3. Woo! As it should have always been. Swords to Plowshare now grants hand wraps a +1 morale bonus to critical threat range. Awesome.
so what do we think about completionist being auto-granted versus racial completionist providing the same benefit for 3 times the work now? Because that does put that in a different light.
I mean, my short answer would be, can racial completionists just be one of each race? I mean, one, that's what I thought it was. I remember when we were having the conversation was introduced, and you pointed out, no, you have to get all of them. Like, oh, that's lame. Um, I, I think there's a both and problem here, right? Completionists should have always been auto granted. It was kind of dumb that it took a feat because feats are hard to come by in a lot of builds. On the flip side, the racial completionist should have just been one of each race. I mean, that's still what, like 15 lives right now?
15 or 16, yeah.
Yeah. Like that's enough to be completionist. Completionist does not need to be 3 of each race. If you want to give me another feat that is you have 3 of each class and 3 of each race, sure. But it doesn't need to be all of them for the base version. So to answer your question, I don't think that the racial one having to get all of them is the problem of the heroic version. I think it's the problem of the racial version.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it just puts it in a different light, and I'm just curious what people are thinking about that.
Winter's Hunt buff from Nature's Warrior, Core 5, now grants +5 cold spell crit chance and 15% cold spell crit damage. Do you know where that stacks against where it was? You're the druid.
No, I don't. Because that's Nature's Warrior.
Sure.
That's the melee tree.
ASMR and Scourge, they now have fewer healing hands. You don't get any more at the core, third core, and the fifth core now provides +2 and does not recharge them. I used to be able to get up to 7. I think it's now 4, and they don't recharge, which is a bit of a bummer. But also, I don't find myself using them enough to have the recharge be a problem. Although I would kind of like to see think Unyielding Sentinel, still has your Lay on Hands recharge. I'd kind of like to see that extended to Healing Hands too. Angel of Vengeance core abilities no longer provide bonuses to caster level and mass caster level. Yes, this is true, but also, I just played on hardcore on Friday, and we were still blasting the crap out of things, so I don't think it's a problem for lower level heroics. I would be more concerned about how that plays in legendary epics, and if those spells still pack enough punch to be of value at that space. Divine Disciple was updated. I haven't played with it. I did see something about like the cores moving, like you can go either direction from the cores depending on if you're doing light or dark. So that's interesting. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it sounds kind of interesting and intriguing. Different way of thinking about cores. Let's see. Garrett, the Sainted, and Arithia Sundawn have had their hit points increased. I think most hirelings could use that. Additionally, Garrett will be less likely to dive directly into combat. 2 additional hirelings have been added. Adworth Wayland and Bulwark Tarun. They are level 30 Favored Soul and Clerics, respectively. So you can get those. Rogue Hireling search scores have been improved to be more able to search of upper heroic traps on harder difficulties. Cool. Enervation cast by monsters no longer applies its damage over time.
That's an interesting one. That was a pretty serious amount of damage we were taking. I'm surprised they took it out.
I would have thought they would have like just reduced the damage, but
yeah.
At the same time, when you're comparing monster, like a spell that's going to hit monsters and a spell that's going to hit us, monsters have so many more hit points. So, sure, it's fine. I'm not going to complain, that's for sure. Fixed an issue with PayPal getting stuck in authentication phase of a checkout. Fixed an issue with the DDO market will get stuck at reCAPTCHA when opened from the game. Whirlwind attack is now tactical melee cleave. Activates its ability to attack all enemies in a 360-degree arc around you twice. It does 4W damage. Note that this is supposed to be 2W and will be corrected in the future. It now hits the same number of times in all melee combat styles. I think Unarmed was actually getting hit by that a lot and not hitting it like it was supposed to be. It no longer pauses at the end of its animations, making it significantly faster and making it flow in your attack better. It now also no longer requires combat expertise and spring attack. It only requires dodge and mobility. Great Cleave is now 4W damage. So the 2 that are supposed to be kind of this like tandem thing, right? So Whirlwind would be kind of more of the 2-weapon fighting. Great Cleave would be more like the 2-handed fighting version. Does similar damage, attacks things, and I need to change the Whirlwind. It's gonna be great. We're gonna see that a lot more. The XP bar on the character sheet has been removed to facilitate archetype and class displays. If you'd like to view your character's total level progress, you can rotate through the available XP bars with the XP bar toggle at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen next to the DDO and symbol. That's the symbol that you click on and it like brings up the main menu. Or a bunch of different menus, right? Which I think it's helpful to point out that if you didn't know, you can actually toggle through different XP bars down there. I think I played this game for like 3 years before I learned that. 3 or 4 years. There's no tutorial that tells you that that's actually a button that toggles anything.
Yeah, I always say this game comes with no instruction booklet unless you bought it in a box in 2006. But yeah.
You want to know how long it took until I realized you could pop out the hotbars? Like, I played this game through, like, Shroud with 1 hotbar.
That's great.
And then I saw a picture of someone's screen, like, wait, you can pop the hotbars out? Yeah, so Let's see. Hit point and spell point tooltips. Character sheet now display the numbers correctly. All right. So there was a hot fix on the 2nd on Friday. It reincarnation came back. They had to turn reincarnation off. Bard and Paladin trainers can now properly multi-class into standard Bard and Paladin levels instead of just the archetypes. Reincarnation now properly lets you multi-class into the archetypes. There was let's see, switching between archetype and its main class and character creation now works as expected. It doesn't lock you into it. In fact, actually, I think what was more accurate there was, I guess what would happen is you could look at the Bard archetype and then switch back to normal Bard, and then it would level you as Cleric. So,
Oops.
it was all sorts of screwed up there. See, the NPC in Knight Who Cried Windmill is now functioning again, so you can actually do the quest. Elmo in Temple of Elemental Part 1 will no longer get stuck in a conversation loop in certain situations. Probably good. Okay, so that's some stuff that's not fixed. And this is some pretty important stuff. So put your listening ears on. There are issues with the new bank. I know you're not surprised by new issues with stuff. This is becoming more of a norm. So, some things that are happening. If you move items between one type of bank to another, it becomes invisible. You can't grab it. It's still there. It hasn't been deleted. You just can't access it. So, to prevent that from happening, move it to if you're taking it from a bank, move it from your bank to your inventory to the new bank spot. I'm a little unclear if this includes tabs or not. I have not been using the tabs because of the issues they've been having related to this. So I expect this week they will have an update that will fix this. But that is an issue currently.
If you're affected by that, I've heard some people having success with searching out the item. So if you know a specific item that is invisible, if you search it, you may find it. So you can try that in the meantime.
Yeah. So, but big idea, don't drag and drop in the bank space. Go to your inventory first and then put it in the new bank spot.
Yeah, don't go from bank to bank.
Right. There was another issue on Wednesday. Players were receiving erroneous in-game mail messages, including attached items for consumables they had already consumed. The items did not function correctly in most cases. They could not be deleted. Leave the items in the in-game mail system if possible. They're no longer being mailed. They will remove them automatically from your inventory in a future update. Mildly concerning. I'm hoping they don't delete something that I want by accident. That would be terrible. There is, let's see. I should get through all this. One of those things where I'm copying a bunch of things. And it's kind of some of the stuff that we already talked about. See, there was some issues with removing items out of reincarnation cache. Missing from inventories. They were basically bouncing back into the cache, but not being visible or invisibility things. So they're working on resolving some of that. The items are still there. Also, there's another issue with reincarnation. So if you have items in a custom tab in your character bank, they will be invisible when you reincarnate and they go into your reincarnation cache. So you need to when you reincarnate, make sure you don't have any character bank tabs when you do that. Otherwise, you won't be able to access those items. Again, they're not gone. You just can't access them. So keep that in mind. If you're reincarnating, delete all. You can delete the tabs, the custom tabs, which will populate the items into your main tab. Just make sure you get them out of the tabs before you reincarnate. That's the big idea here. Bonus days. Strength in numbers boost. 5% for every member of your party or raid through September 7th. Store sales. We will mention that the store sales and the bonus days that are extended for an extra day because of the issues with the release. They didn't want to, with the bank tab and stuff. They didn't want to release the bonuses before they had some of that resolved. So they were put them on a little bit later, and they extended them for a day. Double bonus points is here, so through September 12th, you can get double bonus points. Plus, you get either a lesser or greater elixir of discovery with your purchase, which is like the silliest thing in the world to me. Like what, 100 points item? Whatever. The sale is follow your passion, 20% off of enhancement trees, cosmetic outfits, cloaks, and hair dyes through September 12th. And you can get a free summoned repair shop with the coupon code REPAIR through September 10th.
A good one.
Is it like, okay, so I have some. I think I've used one once.
Yeah, I mean, I don't use them often, definitely, but it's just, when a quest is going sideways and everybody's loot's broken, it's wonderful to be able to bring one of those out.
Yeah.
So while I don't use it often, I love to have it with me.
My problem is I keep, like, I'll leave them in the bank because I don't use them regularly. And then I'll, like, we'll do a raid on a harder difficulty. Like, oh man, I've died a bunch. It'd be great. One of those repair kits that's in my bank.
I don't think you can use those in a raid, but I honestly don't know.
You used to be able to, I think. Not sure.
Maybe.
Anyways, if you use them, it's there. I don't find that I'm usually having too much problems with breaking gear. But I'm pretty good about repairing my stuff frequently, so it's not usually too big of a deal. All right. That'll take us to community news, which there's still no Chronicle. I have no idea when that's coming back, which is where I got most of my community news. But Mr. Voodoo, as I understand it, you recently hit a milestone.
Oh, we had 3,000 follows, and kind of a big deal now too.
I think also you hit
fact,
like 4 years.
I should, and 4 years too. We hit a whole bunch of milestones now too. There's the kind of a big deal thing comes from one of the behind the scenes little Twitch merit badges we can earn, which is to have like 250,000 hours of live views. So I just hit that too. So yeah, 4 years, and it's just been amazing.
Do you want to, give your channels a good solid plug here?
Yeah, so you can find me live streaming a morning show every weekday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern on my channel Vooduspyce, and we wake up together with a cup of coffee, chat about DDO, share a few laughs. It's a great time every day. Always happy to answer viewer questions. Very new and returning player friendly. And you can also find me on YouTube, where I have over 1,000 DDO videos, quest walkthroughs, raid guides, crafting tutorials, and a bunch more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot of good stuff there. Especially if you're interested in getting into raids. I really kind of want to plug your teaching raid content.
Yeah, so I love to raid. I love to encourage others to raid and teach people how to raid. And every winter and spring, we do these special events on Sarlona just for players who are new to raiding, regardless of whether you're new to the game or you're a longtime veteran that just never got into raiding. These special events where we teach newcomers how to raid, and we did video of past events, so you can find a teaching raid video for every raid in the game except for the new raid, which I hope to have a tutorial up for soon. And so if you're looking to learn a raid, that is a great way to start. If you're too shy to join a pug and try to learn along the way, if you watch one of our teaching raid videos, you're going to be in a great place to join a pug raid and understand how the raid's supposed to work and have a really good idea of what you're supposed to be doing so you don't feel lost.
I recommend finding the DDOCast episode on the raids where we like kind of walk through stuff, and then go watch Voodoo's videos so you get the you get a lot of the instructions and tactics and stuff beforehand, and then you can actually see it in action, so it'll make more sense. So, looking forward to the skeletons one, which we did we did skeletons in the closet last week with Epic. So, always fun to share tactics for raids. Have you completed that on Reaper yet? Skeletons?
No, we're just now getting to a point where like most guildies are raid trained. We're knocking out normal very smoothly. So we're just getting to a point where like
Yeah.
we're probably going to be stepping up to hard soon. And I don't know if anybody knows about the secret in the end or how that fully works, but we haven't figured that out yet. So, but I'm feeling basically, my upcoming tutorial for that one will just be the basics. I certainly, I'm sure there's lots of tactics that will get refined, and then you've got the secret in the end fight. There might even be something in the first part too. I don't really know much about any of that stuff.
Oh, you're talking about the optionals?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, you don't get a chest.
You've done them?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't think anybody had done them yet.
We've completed the optionals, but they didn't get a chest. So
About that. There's got to be more to it.
maybe.
They're not going to do these raid optionals just to give you like, a little bit of XP, and I just don't feel like they would do that. There's got to be more to it.
I mean, if you figure it out, I mean, I didn't do a lot of the hammering with it, but people in my guild have hammered away at it and never have gotten a second chest. So bit of an unfortunate thing. But yeah, there you go. All right. Have a little bit of lightning posts. JC asked us on YouTube, can someone kindly inform me how to get my first mount in DDO? Heard something about getting feathers. Thanks for any info. Yeah, so we can kind of give you a little bit of information. There's a lot of different ways that you can get a mount. The feathers that you're referring to are in Keep on the Borderlands. So you can farm Keep on the Borderlands. Heroic or Epic is fine. Pretty sure that's right. Get feathers in Heroic. I would say that the more common way to farm the feathers is to do the rares in the Explorer. They seem to drop feathers a little bit more frequently. And then I think you have to do the quest to get the horseshoe to get the faster horse. But it's not too bad if you just go to DDO Wiki and get a map of the Borderlands Explorer area. Find a path that works for you to get get a bunch of chests, get some tokens, some feather tokens that way, and you can get a horse in game that way. You can currently get a horse on with the last several hardcore seasons. You could get a horse, although you have to survive and hit milestones. So that's not necessarily like the easy way to get a horse. There are also the last several expansions have mounts that come with them at the second and third tiers. So Saltmarsh, Feywild, and Isle of Dread all have mounts with them. You can also buy a mount in the store. I recommend waiting till they're on sale. But you can get a mount for a basic horse, for 995 points before sales. So you can also go that route. Voodoo, do you have anything Anything else I'm missing about mounts?
Well, just special note about Keep on the Borderlands. If you just farm it out on heroic, it's super cheap to re-roll the chest if you want,
Yep.
and if you want to get that enchanted horseshoe thing to make the horse faster from Keep on the Borderlands, then you need to do the quest on Epic. And you're covering this, but I want to say that I definitely recommend, in the long run, getting some sort of either expansion bundle or maybe a hardcore horse or something. That way that kind of horse will always stay with you. So if you decide to make tunes on another server, you will have a horse there from day one instead of having to farm out another horse.
Yep. Good point. It's early September, which means Black Friday, Cyber Monday is coming up. I would guess that at least Feywild will be at a pretty significant discount. I'm guessing at least 50% for Feywild, 50% off for Feywild if you buy it in the store for dollars. Which would, buy at least the second tier and you'll get a mount forever for every character you ever want on every server. Maybe Salt Marsh will be on sale. We'll have to see. I'm not sure if Salt Marsh will be on sale, but I would expect Feywild will be on sale this coming couple months. So before the end of the year, it'll be on sale, I'm sure. All right, so we're gonna get into Update 55 review. See if this ends up being a two-parter or a one-parter. We'll just kind of go with it. It'll be great. So, Update 55. Yep. So Update 55, Isle of Dread. This was the newest expansion. It dropped about 2-ish months ago, 2.5, 3 months, somewhere in that range. And we like to go through review the updates, as it were, and really kind of dive into what we thought about the content and stuff. And I don't know. Let's just start. Let's just dive right in. Maybe let's just start right into the content. There were. Oh, I should have looked up how many quests there were. Was it 12 quests?
That sounds right.
12 sounds right. I think there's like 3 sets of 4, right? Plus a raid, which came a little bit ago, not too long ago. So what, Voodoo, what did you think about the content for Isle of Dread? We could break it down however you want.
Well, first off, and this is about the Slayer Zone 2 as well as the quest and the raid, I absolutely love the aesthetics of it. To me, the aesthetics of Isle of Dread is the highlight. In fact, Isle of Dread, for those of you who don't know, that's this right here, Module X1, one of the highest selling modules in Dungeons and Dragons history. And this has never been brought to life in any kind of video game before, so it was kind of a big deal when it comes to bringing it out as an expansion to DDO. And there's only a handful of pictures in there, so Isle of Dread for the last 40 years has only existed in our imaginations. And to me, they just absolutely nailed what I imagined all of this stuff looking like, and I think they did a great job there. In terms of quantity, I would have liked to have seen a small handful, 3 to 4 more mini dungeons that were more representative of some of the encounters out in the wilderness zone from the actual module itself. And I think they could have done some of that without any additional tech work, just by using existing monsters and existing, like cave and map texturing. I enjoyed it, but just kind of big picture, kind of left me wanting more Isle of Dread.
Yeah, I agree. The aesthetic is really nice. It captures a kind of a Land of the Lost kind of vibe to it, which I really like. The color palette is great.
Yes.
Like that feels like something that they're kind of nailing consistently with the different expansions is Like you go into Ravenloft and you get this very goth horror vibe. Feywild has that very kind of fantastical realm feel. Saltmarsh feels like a marsh, right? And this very much feels like I fell through the earth and found this magical place full of dinosaurs, and there's the volcano on the island. It just really gives a really nice sense in that respect. I'm curious, as someone who is familiar with the original content, how do you feel about the substitutions that they did with? Because there's like the original races that are like only in Isle of Dread, right? Which they kind of replace with Tabaxi and Ettercaps and that kind of a thing.
Well, when it comes to Tabaxi versus Rakasta, there was a cat. There's the humanoid cat race called Rakasta in the module proper, and I think it totally makes sense for them to replace it with Tabaxi. Tabaxi and Rakasta are like Coke and Pepsi. You can't tell the difference between a glass of Coke and a glass of Pepsi from 5 feet away, right?
You are going to
So
get so much hate mail for that statement.
I'm just saying that visually,
Okay,
or
visually.
okay, so that's so and the thing is, people who play pen and paper, they know what Tabaxi is.
Right.
Okay, but even a lot of old school pen and paper players never heard what the heck a Rakasta is because it literally only appeared in like 2 books, which was Isle of Dread and like Rage of the Rakasta or something like that. So I'm totally okay with that choice. Eder, I mean, I honestly really wanted to see the Phanatons and what was oh man, what was the other thing they took out? There was another type of oh shoot,
Yeah, I don't
they
remember off the top of my head.
replaced Phanatons aren't in there, which I was looking forward to some Phanaton action, and then Aranase, the Smart Spiders, you know, and the Phanatons and the Aranase are like enemies, and they basically replaced them with Pixies and Ettercap. So I mean, their reasoning for not having Phanatons was like they didn't feel like they could use them again.
Right.
But why not? I mean, since so much of what DDO produces is homebrew,
Right.
why can't you use it again? I don't know, but it's not that big of a deal. But just overall, I definitely wanted to see more nods to the module, and I think there's some really easy things they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
I like what we have. I just wanted, whenever there's a classic module that comes out, or in this case, it came out in the form of expansion. You always want as many nods uh, and stuff directly to be, translated from the module as possible.
Yeah. I think so we get into kind of more of the content, like the explorer area. I really like how they did the purple names, like having purple names in the explorer area as a tougher challenge, and then having them drop the little ingredients and some little bit more special loot. I, I have to say I really liked that as a game design choice. Um,
Mhm.
so that was really fun. Uh, I believe the T Rex actually is killing a lot of people in hardcore, which is also
Yes, he
kind of fun.
is.
Um,
Be careful.
yeah, it's a little tougher than I think people are expecting. I, I don't know that they should necessarily be in the heroic version. um, Although I'm not sure how much different like coding that would take to really differentiate between the two. Uh, but I really like that as a choice in the explorers, and I kind of hope that they keep doing that, having tougher like with appropriate rewards, but in the explorer area having tougher bosses, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, you can get the raid crafty uh, gear from there, which I will also say, I thought putting the black pearls, the raid ingredient, in those chests was a really good compromise. But you could do something like where if it wasn't something that obvious, maybe you could just give 2 chests for that kind of a boss instead of one that that we normally get from a rare like that. So I really hope they continue doing that. That was really, really cool. I think the mob selection throughout the island is generally pretty good. My chief complaint with the mob selection is I feel like I'm fighting baby Triceratops way too much. Um, like there's a pretty good variety of like the bigger dinosaurs. There's not a good variety of the small dinosaurs, if that makes sense. It's all basically like small raptors and small triceratops. Like I think there's something missing in that space of small dino monster, right? Not sure what that is exactly, but I mean, I have no idea how accurate Jurassic Park dinosaurs actually are to real-ish life. But there could be more variety of the small dinosaurs. I also it's less of an issue now because there's one in the raid, but I was hoping to have more T-Rexes. The T-Rex looks great. The one in All Hail the King is fantastic. We'll talk about the raid in a little bit more specifically, but I really like the T-Rex, and I hope that is something that we continue to see more of, because that was a really fun, of all the monsters, the new monsters, that was the one that's like, that's a T-Rex, and it looks amazing, and it fights great, and I love it. I want more T-Rex in DDO.
I was really happy with the T-Rex. I think they did an amazing job on the dinosaurs. I still really a highlight, just an absolute highlight moment that will stick with me is the first time I saw a brontosaurus. I was actually swimming underwater in the river, and I came out. I happened to come out right in front of a brontosaurus. That was the first time I saw it, and I was like, my jaw dropped.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so beautiful, and I love the choice to make them docile.
Yeah.
I think that's great. They add so much ambiance to it. The T-Rexes are beautiful. I honestly would have liked to see them be about 25 to 50% larger.
Sure.
And yeah, I could have gone for a couple more T-Rexes in the Slayer Zone or something. But yeah, they're super cool. To me, the glaring one that's missing, and man, would I like to know behind the scenes why this isn't there? Because when I did my little Isle of Dread conspiracy theories video, months ago about what I suspected would come out, the no-brainer dinosaur that is missing is the Dimetrodon, which is in the Isle of Dread module itself. It's just a reskinned crocodile with a fin on its back. Like, why is that not there? That seemed like it would have been an easy one. So I gotta
Yeah.
think they probably just ran out of time.
I mean, like they did great work on the stuff that they added. Even like the Ettercap is like I could take or leave the Ettercap, but at the same time, I think they did a really good job with it.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm, it's nice to have new monsters in the game, but like the ones that they did, I think they did a really good job with. In terms of the quests, I don't. So here's what I'll say. Like, there's not a quest that I dislike out of this pack. I like them all. The first quest that has like the flashback thing going on. That was kind of I thought that was kind of a fun way of telling the quest story. The thing about the quests for me is they just feel very fragmented, right? Like and this was by design intentionally. Like they've said that they were kind of trying to go for more of like the open sandboxy thing here. And it's not that there's not a storyline. Like there's a couple, like 4 quests have a storyline with Vecna, we should probably talk about. But compared to like the other expansions, less so Saltmarsh, but Sharn and really Ravenloft and Feywild, like there's a story through line through most of the quests. And I just felt like that was really missing from this content.
There's a reason for that, Patrick, I think, and
Yeah,
that's because it's not there in the module. It's
right.
a just a wilderness module, and there's no, there, yeah, there's no plot that you're following along. In fact, it's not even like a dungeon heavy module. It's just it's a
Mhm.
wilderness module. And so that's why Vecna was added. Vecna is not even in the module, so I think he was added to add some, flow and story, some plot development to it. Which I gotta say, which I thought was weird at first, but it's settled in. I'm totally cool with it, and I just want to say that I love Vecna's voice. At first, it is not what I thought it was going to be, but I absolutely love it.
No, Vecna looks and sounds great, right? Like the inclusion of Vecna, I think, was a fun and clever way of adding that character into DDO. It's kind of one of the more fun things that they do is when they add in some of these like big names uh, into the game, and I the integration of that of Vecna I think works a lot better than I think I thought it would. Even not really having the understanding of the module, a very good understanding of the module, but that was really well done. Um, yeah, the story, the lack of the plot line is kind of a funny thing for me because like I really recognized it as a thing, but it's not like I paid that. Like I followed like the first time or two, and after that, it's not like I'm really paying attention to the plot in Ravenloft, right? Like I'm just running through the quests. But even then, like there's still I don't know if it's because like the chains are kind of linked in order or if how exactly, but they still have like even just having that plot still gives it that cohesion that I just feel like Isle of Dread is lacking. So it's a small gripe. Like I said, the quests are all pretty good. I don't know that there was a other than All Hail the King, which was really just comes down to there's a T-Rex. Uh, I don't know that any of the quests like blew my socks off or anything like that. Uh, but they're all enjoyable quests. We haven't talked about the Kopru. Um, I think that's kind of it's an interesting mob. Uh, I kind of like that. Like, there's a monster that's really it's always named. Like they're a tougher monster. There's not a lot of them by design and in story, what story there is. Um, but I like that aspect of it as well. Anything else with the quest or explore area? Can we talk about the?
Well, maybe I'll mention some specifics of what I referred to earlier about how I really would have liked to have seen about 3 or 4 more smaller quests, like mini quests, like on the scale of Thornright or Knight Who Cried Windmill. We have some really short quests. Gatekeepers has some shorties. Cogs has some real shorties, and I think there was room for that. And what I want to point to in the module specifically is, they even were given a map in the module. There are many encounters that say you can use General Cave Lair 1 or 2. And they literally have these maps. They're very simple maps, but again, they would be on the order of Thornright or some smallish quest like Wraith Callers or uh, you know Ruinous Schemes. These are all very short quests, and I'm wondering why didn't we get those, and why did there's like a lizard folk encounter. There's like a Neanderthal encounter. They could have replaced those with wild men. There's a ogre thing that could have done. Maybe that was Trouble with Tar Pits. It was their version of it. But I would, like I said, I would have liked to have seen. There's some easy things that come right out of the wilderness of there that are just, I wanted to see more nods to that stuff. It's not a big deal,
Right.
but like I said earlier, when we see those classic modules come to life, we want to see as much as possible. And I think they could have added more stuff without any tech work. To create a cave map like that, they don't have to come up with new textures for cave walls. We have that already. And the monsters that would have been in them were either monsters we already had, or substituting wild men for Neanderthals. That's an easy substitution that nobody's going to gripe about.
Right. Let's talk about the raid. What are your thoughts on the raid?
I really like it. In fact, this is my favorite raid in the SSG era of DDO. Uh, I love the aesthetics of the raid. The first two parts go by really, really fast, and kind of they feel too fast after you figure them out, But
Right.
there maybe is an optional in the first part that we don't know. But they are super, super fast once you figure them out. And part three, yeah, it's just a really cool looking. I love the atmosphere of it. And there is, the end fight, there's definitely stuff that was beating us up pretty good before we figured out tactics, and I'm sure tactics will refine. I feel like the challenge level of normal difficulty is in a good place. We've done it as a guild maybe 10 times, and we're just now getting to a point where we're smoothing out the end fight in the last few runs. Like our last time we ran it, we had one death in the end fight, and it was a level 29, So, but 4 runs ago, we were still having half the party die every time the Dark Secrets came out, but then we figured out, hey, let's do it this way. So it was fun figuring that stuff out. I feel the challenge level is good. The aesthetics are great, and it is my favorite raid in the SSG era.
Now I'm trying to figure out, when did SSG start? Where were we saying?
Ravenloft,
Ravenloft?
Strahd, and
Okay.
Baba.
Uh, so let's see. I think I would agree with you that it's probably my favorite uh boss fight. Like the first two sections, I kind of wish just weren't part of it. Like they're not really adding a lot to it, but the end fight is. I feel like I think Torque designed this raid. I think he found this like really nice balance for me of like tactics and things that were like that you had to deal with, and the challenges, without being like they're there. There's ways to maximize what you're doing and be more efficient with it and get better at it. There's a couple mechanics that you have to deal with that can be really devastating and tricky if you don't deal with them. But I don't feel like any of them are like really high barrier level, right? So I think killing like take killing time for example, right? It's there's not a lot of complicated mechanics in killing time, but there's so much going on in such a small space that it was, and like the chaos orbs and some of the things you need to have, like it could be really punishing for players that weren't really into the rating scene, or like can be dabbled and weren't like really mainstream hardcore rating kind of people. I don't feel like that's true of this one, right? Like there are mechanics that you have to deal with and everything, and we covered a lot of those last week and stuff. Uh, but it's not. There's a challenge. There's a challenge and an opportunity to really maximize that strategy part of your brain and those kind of groups. But this is not a high level barrier to entry kind of a raid. I think you can get a pug of 12 random people who with a little bit of knowledge, and you could go and run this on normal and have some success. It might not be super clean, but I think a group on normal can complete this pretty much out of the gate, which is really where I like to see raids land. So, and there's a lot of like little hidden things that are in there that I think it will take players a little bit to figure out. Again, we talked about some of them last week. Um, so I really like the feel of the raid and kind of the progression and the things you're having to deal with. I'll also
The
say that,
elements of mystery from those, in there from the optionals is really nice.
yep. The other thing I'll say is that the T-Rex is the best looking raid boss since Lord of Blades. Like, it looks amazing. my biggest complaint of the whole module was there's 2 T-Rexes, and I have like never actually seen the one in the Explorer era because I just haven't really farmed looking for it or whatever.
There's 3.
Are there 3? And then
There's the raid one, there's the quest one,
well,
there's the explorer
yeah,
one.
right. But that was before we had the raid one, right?
Yes.
And then we get the raid one, and when he turned from purple to green, it's like, holy crap, that thing looks amazing. Like,
Bigger. I want him bigger. But yeah, he looks awesome.
sure. I'll counterpoint you a little bit. Like, if it was too much bigger, like, it'd be out of your camera frame.
Just 25 to 50%. It's a little bit bigger.
I really like the T-Rex. Maybe a little too much void damage, but the T-Rex looks amazing, and it moves great. It fights great. I love everything about the T-Rex. It's one of my new. He may even look better than Lord of Blades, right? A lot. I feel like I should mention that my love for Lord of Blades, like, there's a bias there because I always liked Warforged as a race. So here's this badass Warforged. The T-Rex may be the best looking monster in the game. Like, top 5, assuredly. Best looking monsters in the game. Oh. Epic brought this up last week, and I'll just kind of reiterate here that the one place that the raid falls flat for me and him both. There's only one chest, which is not really the big deal, but the number of raid items, because they're all these raid weapons, is too much. It's really difficult, and we'll kind of get into the loot a little bit more specifically here in a minute or 3. Because it's only one chest, and because of how many items there are, it's very difficult to get the pieces you're looking for out of this raid.
Well, there are 2 chests. One of them's at the end of part 2, but yeah, you don't get the weapon blanks.
Right.
And I
attuned
still
weapon
think
blanks.
that there's another chest optional, but obviously I could be wrong. I think there's something hidden. And I'm okay with it being tough to get. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the TOD ring days. I'm okay with that.
To a point. The solution that we both came up with when we were talking about this last week was the weapons should cost less runes to get, like 500 or 750 runes or something like that, or maybe like 500 runes and some threads of fade or something like that. Not 1250 runes. Leave the gear, the wearable gears at 1250. That's fine, but like reduce some of the cost there. If you're looking to do a 5-piece set, you're probably looking to get 2 of those weapons, plus probably one of the items. So, and it's just kind of a lot. But otherwise, I really like the raid itself. I really like. That's kind of more of a loot problem. Anything else you want to say about the content?
I mean, Jumbie in chat in one sentence kind of expresses exactly how I feel about the whole expansion. The art is great. I love it. Tony the Tiger, great. The quests are fun. The gear is a dud.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it there, Jumbie.
Well, so let's talk about the loot.
And I feel like it needed more too. I totally agree with that too. It needed more.
Yeah, I hope they come back to this area and do more. I'm not sure how you do that. I hope this aesthetic comes out in the game in more places. I think is the way of saying it. let's talk about the loot a little bit. And I'll just say right off the bat, I think part of my problem with the loot is it just like it lacks. You know when Ravenloft came out and it was like this big jump in gear, which they have since like toned that down because it's and I agree with the reasons. It's not great game design of having these like huge jumps like this. But at the same time, like we're barely getting an increase in a lot of places. So it's like the gear that's comes fully completed, not super. It's a step up, but it's not like blowing my socks off step up, right? And some of the places where there would be an opportunity for improvement because of the way that the different pieces, like the things that they have on different pieces, it doesn't really fit in a way that really allows me to slot it into my existing gear set. Which always makes it a little harder for me to kind of pull loot out of. Not to say there aren't some pieces that I'm utilizing and stuff, but there's some opportunities there with some of the crafting and stuff. But when you get into like how much do I want to invest into really going crazy with changing my gear, and then add in on top of that a crafting system that's. I mean, look, I like the crafting. I like crafting in general, but crafting systems do really slow down my acceptance of new gear because I have to get the ingredients and then figure out what I want, and because there's ingredients involved, I tend to be a little bit more cautious about spending them, particularly initially. So I'm always much slower about adopting gear that has a crafting system, especially when that crafting system has more going on to it.
I can't think of another expansion where over 2 months into it, I haven't included a single piece of endgame gear into my endgame gear set. Nor is there anything that I'm like, oh, I want to farm that out, and I haven't utilized the crafting system because I'm just like I've looked at it a few times. I'm like, whatever. I probably will craft. I will craft something. I know I will craft probably one thing for each of my two mains, but I'm just like, whatever. I'll get to it when I get to it. Now, that said, I love the augments that came with this. Oh, they
Oh
are
yeah,
exquisite.
yeah. There's great augments involved with some of the stuff coming here. That's great. Um,
But the loot, I am totally unenthused about.
yeah. So I'm gonna pull out some stuff that's being tossed out in the chat here because I think it's really good. Some really good commentary. So Jumbie is saying the raid gear looks like it would take forever to get rolling with, so they won't bother with it. Yeah, like I have the same kind of approach, right? Like how much is that really going to be increasing my level of gear, and how much is it like for the amount of work I'm going to do to get it right? And the thing that's always in the back of my head is gear is always changing. There's always going to be new gear. The next gear Tetris is going to be here, and at some point, Leg Bash says it's not worth any sort of Tetris. Yep. On the flip side, Anadoran is saying it doesn't have to be a huge upgrade. D&D has always been about +1 and +2 improvements. Don't shake a stick at +1. That is 100% right. And it just kind of goes down to what are you working on, right? I think that's the key. And as someone who's still playing around with like getting past lives and stuff, a huge gear Tetris is not something I'm necessarily looking for. I will tell you though that I do have a couple pieces that I'm looking at, right? So one, I made a belt. So my TR gear set, I put in a belt and did a little crafting, right, that has some, I think it was critical damage that was new that I got to add on, so I liked that. I am planning on making a weapon for my TR, so I really like my Alchemist TR build. So I'm planning on making a weapon for that for level 32. And pulling some of that stuff in as well. So I am seeing an increase there. But some of the other stuff, like it's not super well landing. Again, I'm still kind of trying to figure out the crafting system, which is part of it, right? But the static loot drops are not blowing my socks off. But the augments, yeah, I like the Undying augment. Looks great. I was happy to slot that into my poor man bear tank. That'll go a long way for him. Yeah. What else for loot? Anything?
I mean, going back to augments, you can augment Ghostly now.
Yeah.
That's incredible. You can augment Pairing, although that might have come with TOEE's revamp. Yeah, and the unconscious range extension. The command augment, that's really awesome. Linguistics augment,
Yeah.
that's really awesome.
Okay,
I like
but
to play tanks.
I have to
And
ask this question because I've been
yeah.
trying to figure. How good is linguistics?
Well, it just reduces the cooldown of Intimidate, and that's someone who loves to play tanks, I'm always frustrated with the long cooldown of Intimidate. I really wish that
Right.
there was more ways to reduce the cooldown, like in the Unyielding Sentinel tree, for example. And I wish they would increase the range a little bit.
Do you feel like it's do you feel like the linguistics is actually giving you that much bang for reducing
I
the
don't
intimidate?
know. I don't have a lot of experience with it, just other
Yeah.
than what it says, because I don't have in my end game gear set. I did get the heroic leveling one. That's just 10% reduction. I believe the legendary one is a 15%
Yeah.
reduction. So
Like
and
15% off of 6 seconds is how
it's like a
meaningful is
second.
that? Yeah.
It's 1
I guess.
second, right? And honestly, it probably won't go in my gear set because this isn't 2015 where we have like a million augment slots on our endgame gear set and nothing to put in it. Now it's like there's 100 augments I want to put in my gear
I
set,
know, right?
and I really have to make sacrifices. And
It's good.
yeah, it is good. I really do want about 10 to 12 more augment slots on my endgame gear set.
I hear you. Especially as a tank who's still rocking a 5-piece legendary shroud set, which has no augments.
Wow. Yeah, you need to get rid of that.
It's working. Yeah, no, it gets challenging with the augments for sure. Gonna say something now. It went away. Boo. Yeah. Full auto hero saying linguistics saves 1 second. Also on the linguistics side of things though, the I do like with the Unyielding Sentinel and like Bear, like they have attacks that have an Intimidate along with them. That's what I like to see. Like having a second Intimidate option, I really like that kind of a thing.
That's one of the things that makes Throw the Boom, where you do the Captain America shield, so wonderful. I love it.
And it's range and it works on everything.
Yes, it is
excellent.
excellent.
That shield throw in Skeletons of the Closet to grab Ghost Flame's aggro when she's still standing on the skull in the center, really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that about covers the loot. We will definitely we'll record the whole thing right now, but we will definitely be having a second part to this next week. All right, we're going to close out the show. Voodoo, why don't you plug your stuff again?
Sure, you can find me streaming every weekday at DDO morning show that we call Good Morning Coffee and Chat. 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. We talk about DDO. We keep each other company. We drink coffee. We share a few laughs. And we do a lot of past life grinding and Legendary Reaper XP questing. You can find me streaming raids on Thursday. I think that's going to change to Friday night, and then I stream to DDO stream. That's DDO's Twitch channel for a late morning show at 11 a.m. on Saturday. You can find me on YouTube as well, where I have over 1,000 DDO videos, quest walkthroughs, raid guides, crafting tutorials, and so much more.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Voodoo, for joining me. Thanks for the folks listening, especially the live folks. Had a really fun chat today. Really great interaction there. Thanks for contributing to the show, folks. Thanks to all the folks who contribute to DDOcast, Voodoo for hanging out all morning here, Staying Some Games with the Coast, and Cybers for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website at DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. You can also hit us up at DDOcast.com for our show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff, including some DDO adventures and D&D tabletop. If you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, leave us your comment, your thoughts on Isle of Dread, all that fun stuff. Leave a comment or email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. Also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter is the best place. So may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level be level appropriate. Have fun, and don't forget to gather for us.